So virtually every single business user, which includes everyone in this room, has experienced the problem that Doculus is solving. What is this problem? The problem is reading of documents on your smartphone sucks today. So those of you who've received an email attachment, like a PDF or a Word document, and you've had a need to open up that document on your smartphone, know exactly what I'm talking about. All of us get into this endless process of pinching and zooming and swiping just to try to find that sentence or that section or that paragraph that we're trying to read. This is exactly the problem that Doculus is trying to solve. So just show of hands, just want to understand, get a feel for folks here if they've experienced the problem. Like, how many of you guys have had a need to read a document on your smartphone? Okay, so majority. And if you can just keep your hands up. And of those who are raising their hand, how many of you guys find that experience really frustrating? Excellent. 100%. Amazing. Great. So the team at Doculus, about 6 months ago, we started building this application, and we said, is the status quo acceptable to us? And the clear answer was no. So then we said, let's go ahead and look at the opportunity that's ahead of us. So the first question that we asked was, is this a big problem? And there are sort of two ways of looking at it. The first one is, if you draw a line around how work is getting done today, that line is actually increasingly getting blurred. Obviously, we all work in our office, but those of us that commute to San Francisco in Caltrain, or those of us who take the subway to Manhattan every single day, we actually spend considerable amount of our time, 45 minutes to an hour, in that train, and we'd like to work. The second thing is, those of us who are actually attending conferences like this, all of you guys, it's a Friday, so maybe you have coworkers who are still sending you stuff. So all of us are out and about a lot more, and we have a need to basically consume content while we're outside the office. And then the second thing is, if you think about how business is done, a lot of business is still done via documents. So if you think about sales contracts, if you think about partnership agreements, if you think about NDA agreements, if you think about financial documents, if you think about term sheets, if you think about reports, if you think about market research, there's tons and tons of documents all of us need to consume, and it's a very horizontal problem. Like, if you look at different functional areas, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're in business development, if you're in HR, if you're in accounting, if you're in finance, if you're in legal, across different horizontals, every one of us actually have a need to consume the content. So the problem is certainly very, very big. The next question that we asked ourselves is, we're sitting in 2015. We have the equivalent of a supercomputer that's connected to the internet in our pocket. Why is it that this problem that feels so fundamental, why does it exist? And the answer to that question is very simple. The answer to that question is that virtually all the authoring apps out there are still creating content that encapsulates this content inside of a document. So just visualize yourself, you have your laptop open, you go into Microsoft Word, or let's say a modern tool like Google Docs, and you say File New. What does the application do? It actually virtually paints the equivalent of an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of paper on the screen. The user interface is still optimized for creating content on documents or pages that need to be printed. And in the United States, it's an 8.5 by 11 sort of aspect ratio that they try to draw. So then, as I start typing my content, as I start creating that document, what happens is that automatically this tool starts to lay out this content on pages. Like, I never said, like, hey, this sentence should actually go in page number 2, but because it's encapsulated in an 8.5 by 11 UI, it starts to wrap stuff on the next page. So virtually all the documents that I then receive on my smartphone, and it doesn't matter what app you're using, when you tap on it, it tries to do the same thing. It says that this content was created as a page, the content is encapsulated as that, so I need to render it inside of those pages, and which is why this huge problem exists. And the next question that we asked ourselves was, what will it take to really solve this problem and solve it in a way where hundreds of millions of people start to consume their content, all this business critical stuff on their smartphones? And there are 3 aspects to it. So the first aspect is you have to build something that is agnostic of the file format. So if you look at sort of broadly defined document space, there are 4 800-pound gorillas. There's the Microsoft with Office, there's Google with Google Docs, there's Adobe with the PDF file format, and there's Apple with Keynote and Pages. So what you have to do is that you have to recognize that today all of us live in a fragmented document file format world. Like, nobody says, oh, I only get Microsoft Word, or nobody says, I only get PDF. You get different file formats, and what happens is that these file formats are owned by different companies, So a solution that needs to be built actually needs to support multiple file formats. The second thing is you have to think very, very deeply about the user interface or the user experience that you're going to expose to the end user. So what do I mean by that? If you typically look at a document, it has something called as the DOM, Document Object Model, which essentially tells you what's inside this document. There's going to be a paragraph, there's going to be a bunch of bullets, there's numbered lists, there are images, there's charts, there's tables. Every single object that I just mentioned, you need to reimagine what's the right way to present this object on your device. So if it's a table, well, what's the right way to present a table on a 4-inch device? You know, if you have a bunch of bulleted lists and there's a second or a third level indentation, what's the right way to present that? So you have to reimagine all of these experiences and then come up with something that will work across all these different file formats. And then the last one is, and this is mostly based on feedback that we've gotten as we've rolled the application out to a subset of alpha users, is that people said, well, this is great, this is a real problem that you're solving, but guess what? I don't really see myself reading a 20-page document on my smartphone, let alone a 50-page or a 100-page document. What they really want is an extremely fast way for them to get to what they're looking for inside the document. And so what you need to do is you need to build a set of algorithms or intelligence that is able to look at the anatomy of the document and quickly summarize that for you, and then allow you to then jump into a particular section. So let's say somebody's trying to look at market share. So what's the fastest way to find that chart or table that talks about market share and that get in and out of the application virtually in a matter of seconds? So you have to build this intelligence. And if you have those three things, then according to our belief, you have a winning formula. And that's exactly what Doculus did. So what I have is a quick demo, just a couple of minutes that I wanted to show you guys. And in this demo, the persona that we're trying to paint is a sales guy working with an inside counsel, like a legal guy, and they send a couple of attachments. These are consulting agreements and term sheets, and the sales guy is saying, hey, can you quickly take a look at this and give me feedback? And it so happens that the attorney is not in the office, and so they go ahead on their iPhone, they select Doculus as the app, and within a matter of seconds, the document is presented. Now let's show you how this document actually looks like if you were to open it on your iPhone today. And when I say you have to get into an infinite pinch and zoom, this is exactly what I mean. You just swipe, go up and down, it's just frustrating, left and right, and virtually every single person that we've talked to has given up on it. So then the next question is, what is Doculus doing to solve this problem? So the first thing you'll see is that there's no headers, there's no footers. We've actually optimized the entire document for your form factor. But you can say, hey, I like to look at documents in a bigger font size. This is not the right reading experience for me. So what Doculus allows you to do is change the font size in a way that every single document, irrespective of the file format, will now be presented in a bigger font size going forward. So we're actually trying to optimize the experience for you, right? So we'll go back to a smaller font size. The other thing that we do is what I mentioned in terms of the algorithms and the intelligence. So we look at the anatomy of the document, we automatically create what we call as the table of the content. So even though the author of the document didn't create a table of content, we actually create one for you. So if you want to jump into a particular section, so if you go back and we look at maybe an exhibit, you want to look at the allowable expenses, you just tap on it, and within a matter of seconds, even though this was a 30-page document, literally you'll actually will drop you right inside of exhibit C. So it's extremely fast. We'll quickly switch gears and look at a term sheet. And just to show you, this term sheet was a 2-column table that somebody created. So this is the Doculus convertible note term sheet. And you can see we convert that table into what we feel is the right format. So again, if you were to quickly go and find, let's say, the interest rate, you just tap here, and then in a matter of seconds, we'll bring you to the interest rate. Or let's say you're looking at the discount rate. Again, it's the fastest way to for you to get to the information that you care about, and when you get to it, for you to read it. And the last thing I wanted to show you is if you've ever received a market research report, they tend to have a lot of charts and tables. Now, you can actually go inside a table, even though it's in the Word and PDF document, and you can say, hey, I'd like to look at the top 2 players in the market by growth rate. You can just select that particular column. You can sort the data inside of the column. You can then go ahead and select the top 2 vendors. And then this is a table that has literally 100 cells, and you can convert it into a table that has 4 cells. And then you can actually just quickly one tap email it to your coworker. So think about it. Even on the desktop, a platform that has existed for over 2 decades, if you were to get a Word or a PDF document and you want to extract some information out because you're trying to consume and make sense out of it, and you have this table where you say, hey, I need to find the top 2 players. There's virtually no way, even on your desktop, to do this. But using Doculus, you can actually open this document. We have our algorithms that understand data structures inside of the table. You can sort, you can filter, you can build views, you can save it for yourself, or you can actually go ahead and share it with others. So Doculus is virtually the fastest way for you to read documents on your smartphone, and in many cases, even faster than a desktop, the platform that has existed for over 20 years. And what we found is that generally, if you think about how people consume documents, there's generally 2 sort of high-level needs. The first one is, I send you a document and this is the first time you're receiving it. Your first question is, what is this document about? Help me summarize this. So this is the first time you received it. The fastest way to understand what this document is about so that you can then decide if you want to make an investment in that document. The second one is, you and I are already collaborating on this document. You know exactly where you need to go. And you've asked me to update paragraph 6 on page number 7, section 2. You want me to update a particular number out there. And so what's the fastest way for you to get inside and outside that document so that you can actually make sure that that stuff was done? So just to wrap up, at Pioneer Summit today, we are announcing the public beta of the Doculus app. So all of you guys have your smartphones. So if you want to go to doculus.io, and just quickly, within 10 seconds, if you want to sign up for the beta over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start releasing the app in phases. And the plan is that in the next 2 to 3 months, we will have the app on the App Store. So if you're interested in actually playing with the app and giving us feedback, please do that. My co-worker Dennis is out here. We actually have a table out in the courtyard. So if you guys happen to swing by at lunch, please stop by, talk to us, give us feedback. If you have any questions, we'd love to talk to you. Thank you so much.